Good morning or good afternoon, depending where you are today, right? And welcome to our Women Lead TV, brought to you by Connected Women of Influence. My name is Ana Nieto, I'm your host, and the name of our show is Manifesting Magnetic Mindfulness. Our show today is about the power of celebration. What a better time, right, to talk about celebration that you in this time of the year, about igniting your radiant achievement so that you can step out of frenzy and into flow. And to talk about this exciting subject, I have here my dear friend and business colleague and retreat creator and entrepreneur with me a few years ago. You know, it's been amazing to know you as a good friend. And Christine Howard, the name of her company is Christine Howard Coaching. And I know she is amazing at catalyzing women to know and own what they are here to do. So, for you guys that I know are entrepreneurs here listening to our show today, this is going to be a very interesting conversation that we are going to have. So, stick around, please. Hello, Christine. So wonderful to have you here with us today. How are you today?
I am well. I am well, and always excited to have a conversation with you, Anna. Excited for this topic.
Me too, me too. And I've been, I mean, following you even before we have worked together on retreats, you know, as friends, as business colleagues. And I know your trajectory has been amazing of growing your business and helping women and, you know, by your book and everything that you do. And I know one of the main names that you use is your radiant achievement. So I'm very interested to tell the audience today if you can share what is radiant achievement? What is that to you?
Yes. Radiant achievement is a new approach for how we can achieve those goals, dreams, callings that we have. And it's very opposite in ways from what most of us have been conditioned to do, which is that strategic achievement, which is all here in our head. And it really brings us back to that inside out approach where we are connecting with some amazing powers we have that we've forgotten about or we've been conditioned to not use or ignore, but to reignite them and then live from this inside out approach using these powers, which really work together very synergistically. So, radiant achievement is not a 1, 2, 3 step process. It's really about you reclaiming your own inner authority, inner leadership, and then using, embodying these powers in a day to day, choice and moment to truly intuitively flow to the goals, again, dreams and callings that you're working on.
Yeah, and if I can say, you know, I believe the reason why you choose this is because it's perfect for your trajectory as a business owner and entrepreneur and as a woman. Will you mind sharing a little bit, you know, with our audience about yourself and why you came up with this name? Because I know it's very related to what you do. You're one of the people in this world that I know that if you say I'm going to do something, you get it done. You know, I want to say, and if it's okay that I share, you know, as I started training you a few years ago, and I was so impressed to see you in your 50s, you know, running in competition, in fitness competition, and doing that. And I saw the pictures, and you won, and that was super impressive. So not only in your business, in your life, you also have this radiant achievement. So can you tell us a little bit about you and share with the audience, you know, because that is really your name, that is really who you are, and you know, just a little bit of explaining how you came up with it. I would love to hear.
Always love, love, love to share this story. And so much of what I do comes out of what I've gone through, and Radiant Achievement is no exception. So I had a couple really big wake up calls, breast cancer diagnosis, followed by the end of my 21-year marriage. And what I saw through those wake up calls, which of course stopped me in my tracks, and really forced me, caused me to look at how was I living my life. And in that inquiry, in that healing journey, I saw how much I was in frenzy. I was overwhelmed. I was not truly loving myself, and I was really spinning out of control, going getting things done, but it was such a hard path. And so I ended up really looking at all these different rocks in my life. Once I dropped the baggage, I looked at these rocks and I turned them over and I started getting into inquiry that there has to be another way. If this path I've been on for how many years got me here, what other path is there and where might that lead me? The fascinating thing with this, Anna, as I started getting into inquiry and just listening and paying attention and asking for guidance, little by little, steps came to me, answers came to me, books to read came to me. And I started diving down this whole path of really reclaiming who I am, reconnecting with my worth, these really what happened is these powers started reigniting in me. I didn't realize it at the time, but after a year's journey of really just taking ownership of my life, again, getting in inquiry, being open to let go of things that weren't serving me and say and adopt what was serving me at a different way, I started to experience amazing synchronicities, flow. Things would come to me without me putting out a lot of effort. And a year later, I stopped and I kind of reflected and I saw, wow, this is like I am living 180 degrees different from how I was before.
Mhm.
And like what is this? How can I like put a little package around this? And what came out of that was this title, this branding, this message, this way of my living, which is called Radiant Achievement. And I saw that I could get things done without killing myself, without yes, it's work for sure, but without that drain that I had been living before. So that really was in the nutshell of how I came to, discover first for myself Radiant Achievement, and then I had to start teaching it. I can't just keep it to myself.
Yeah, and I actually have your book here, which
Mm.
titled Radiant Achievement, and you were talking about the powers, and I know that one of the powers that you talk is the celebration, which is what we are talking about today. So, how do you become an expert in celebration? How did I know that for me, celebrating is a little hard, and I know when I've worked with you, you always, catalyze me to actually celebrate more because I know the power
Mhm.
of it. But how do you become an expert on that? How do you
Yeah.
yeah, how do you achieve that and became a superpower for you?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Like all of this, it was a very intentional, kind of conscious choice. Maybe not so much that, oh, celebration is going to become this transformative thing, but what I started to come to understand is the power of acknowledging what we are seeing, what we are experiencing, those little nuggets. And then I really expanded it into not just a gratitude practice, but actually a celebratory practice. And I made a commitment every day in my journal. I was going to write down those small wins, the ways of how I was changing and growing. I was going to acknowledge and celebrate even if it was just one phone call where I showed up as a more empowered or courageous person. I was going to acknowledge that in my journal. And so truly on it was this daily commitment and practice of celebrating the little things, the synchronicities, the changes, the shifts, how I was growing, that really became that allowed me to have that then as the superpower. And it just attracted more of the same. So I got so lit up to start teaching, really focusing on this. And I do this with my clients, and I know we've done that in our meetings. Like, what? Let's start with the celebration, and what better way to put energy into your day, into a meeting, or any part of your life.
Yeah, and I love that, as I said, because it's not one of the things that I excel at. So you've always been like catalyzing that in me, and I know you do that very well. So it brings me to my next question, right? Like how that celebration energize our lives and create that flow. Because one of the things that I know you always talk about is how to go from the frenzy to the flow, which I love. How does
Yeah.
celebration help us with that? I mean, as you well said, it is a daily practice, right? Like we need to constantly be doing it in order
Mhm.
to receive the benefits of it. So can you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
Totally, totally. And I'm going to put a disclaimer here because I am not a scientist, but I do want to bring in a little bit of science here. Again, this has been part of my journey when I wanted to go back and understand why does this work so well for me? Why do I start having more synchronistic experiences, and why do I feel more energized? So two things from the science perspective. One is, we may have heard this somewhere in our high school or college classes, but hormones get released when we like dopamine, serotonin, when we do things that we enjoy. So we're celebrating. That's a good feeling type of activity. So these good feeling hormones get released. So it could be pleasure, it could be satisfaction. And if we're feeling good, don't we want to do more of that? It doesn't that energize us just kind of naturally. So I think we've got that physiological thing going on. But then there's something bigger that I learned over the last few years, and that's related to quantum physics. And
Mm,
quantum physics teaches that everything emits energy. Everything is energy and everything emits an energy, a vibration. So we can consciously um, create vibrations that will then allow us to have the experiences we're desiring. So let me say it in kind of simple goal terms. When we celebrate that one phone call that was on the path toward our goal, or that one milestone that we completed, or how we showed up, again, it's the most micro little things. What we are doing is we are energetically aligning ourselves with our goal, dream, vision. And when we energetically align ourselves, it like attracts like. So then we are drawing without a whole bunch of effort, we're drawing new ideas, opportunities, solutions, next steps, people to us. I've seen this in my life. I know you've seen this in your life. And when we start to practice it again on a daily basis, we start to get more into that flow state where, yes, we still have a to-do list and we're taking daily actions, but some of those actions, and it varies day to day, can happen really without us putting a lot of effort into it. And this is when it becomes magical, but it truly is all very scientific.
mhm.
And again, I've seen this myself, my clients, and talk about, so then you're spending less energy. You've got more energy for the things you are focusing on, and just it's this very much a co-creative, co-collaboration with all the energies that are around us every day anyway.
Yeah, that's actually beautiful, beautifully put. And as you know, as a movement expert, for me, the feel good hormones is always one of the main things that I know exercise brings and celebration. And that's good to think that we can bring that about in our body, in other ways. And I know that you are one of your mentors is Joe Dispenza, and that you follow quantum physics, and all the theories that are so true of how life works, really, and celebration. And as you were talking, what came to mind, because I'm a Capricorn, you know me, I'm very practical. Like, how do you celebrate? Like, how do you actually
Sure.
celebrate? I think that would be a good tip for some of us that are,
Perfect.
yeah.
I love I love this because it's a very simple process. It's like 4 steps. First is commit to doing something every day. It could be 5 minutes. Sit down somewhere quiet. You can grab a journal, you can grab your phone and open a note, and then scan your day. Really, get still and look at what were those things that I either achieved, those small wins, or a way of how I who I was being, that I showed up as that future leader, change maker, that I desire to be. Notice that. Notice synchronicities. Notice lessons you learned that day. Maybe you had some aha moments and you caught yourself in an old pattern that doesn't serve you. Celebrate that. We're so hard on ourselves, but we can celebrate all these little pieces because they're all part of our journey of ultimately achieving our goal.
Mm.
And celebrate when you got support, even if it was something you expected to get. Celebrate how you are supported, because everything you focus on, you're going to get more of. and then write it down. Right, you can have a short list, long list, however you want to do that, but write it down. Then take a moment to really feel the joy. You can put some music on, do a little happy dance if you want to put some on a movement into it, or say it out loud, share it with a friend. We frequently share our wins with each other, and there's power in putting that energy and that vibration out in the world. And just again, take a moment to feel that, but make that again an everyday practice.
I think that's great. For me, that's very helpful because you're giving me some tools, right? Like the journaling, like feeling it in my body. I think that's a beautiful tip. And then celebrating with somebody else. How awesome, right? To connect with somebody and say, hey, this happened. I want to share this with you. This is great, actually. I'm really enjoying our conversation because it's giving me a lot of good ideas for myself as well. And I've read your book, and I know that this is all here, or not all of it, because I know you evolve constantly, and there are some new things that you've been sharing with the world and with the women that you work recently. But I want to talk about your book for a minute because I know
Yeah.
that, I mean, I've read it and I loved it. I think it's so beautifully the way you combine your story and the way that you give tips and tools and the power of the creation of this radiant achievement that you hold so dear and that you spread so well with other women. So tell me a little bit about your book. I know that is something you have some news about it. Something.
Yes, yes. So I launched my book 2.5 years ago, and in January I am going to be relaunching it. And actually, kicking off this week is a big giveaway campaign that is. If you follow me on social media, which I'll give you my handles later, I will be announcing it, how you can participate. The page is going live, I believe, by the end of today. And it's all about, again, for each of us to really see we have another path. We can, you can get a great, copy on special of the ebook, and enter this giveaway, because part of what I'm giving away is um, a new year, new you coaching package to one winner. And then I'm doing a free workshop for everybody else that enters, so we can truly start the year with our own ignition of our inner powers and really have a beautiful, powerful, fluid, radiant year. So that is, so excited that's launching this week.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how can people reach to it? Like, how can they see it? Can they find you on social media? Can they find you on your
Yes,
website? What is the best way to see that for them?
yes. So right now, I'd say the best way to reach me is and pay, to see all the contest announcements. Instagram, I'm Christine Marie Howard with an underscore after my name. And on Facebook, Christine Marie Howard. And I'm the same on LinkedIn, Christine Marie Howard. I'll be announcing it across all platforms, and it'll have a link to the actual giveaway page, which has all the giveaway details, what the prizes are, when it runs, how you can enter, and it is free to enter, by the way. So I look forward to everybody, yeah, jumping on board, and really let's start the year intentionally with just committing to let go of that frenzy and step into more flow.
Thank you, Christine. And let me ask you one last question here. I know that you help women. I wanted to ask you, how do you help women, but also maybe just one final tip or two that you can give here to
Sure.
our audience in regards to our subject today of celebration and the power of radiant achievement that you have. How do you work with women? What are the
Sure.
first tips and steps and tools that you usually share with them, as much as you can give us? Because I know that you cannot give
Yes, yeah.
as
Well,
much as you
I
can give us.
well, you kind of said it in the beginning. One of the things I am claiming about myself is that I am a catalyst for people. So I've seen this in myself. Like, I just sense and know that there's more of me to express and experience, and that's what I do. I work with those people that are ready to level up, whether that's personally, professionally. It's all one thing anyway. They really want to level up, so I help them see what they can't see themselves. And we're that fish in the fishbowl, and it's sometimes somebody outside the fishbowl that can help you see you're swimming in murky water here, right? So, what is it that you're walking around with that it's so conditioned you don't even realize it's holding you back? And really help them get clarity on who they are at a core innate heart level. What is it they truly desire at that inner level? And then how can you step forward and achieve those things you desire with those higher perspectives of grace and ease, joy and flow versus trying to control everything. So definitely a lot of mindset, which I know is a big part of what you do too, and just really reclaiming who we are. So that's how I work with people. And my last tip is this is the perfect time to celebrate. And you might be looking at the end of the year saying, "Oh, I didn't quite hit this mark or that mark," or we tend to focus on what we haven't done or what we didn't do. I want you, and I'm going to challenge you to focus on what you did do. Those micro things, like roots are growing you can't even see in your business, in your life, in your relationships. So when you focus on the roots you've laid, the seeds you've planted, the little sparkles of things that have happened, that's what I want you to focus on the end of the year and then carry that into 2024.
What a great way to end. I was actually going to ask you if you want to have any final thoughts, but honestly, I think that is it. That wraps it all, because how often do we focus on what we haven't accomplished, and how few times, right, we focus on the things that we have. So that's a beautiful tip to leave us with, especially at the end of the year, the power of celebration, living the year thinking of all the beautiful things we've done instead of the ones that we didn't achieve. Thank you so much, Christine. That's our show for today. I'd like to really, really thank you for being here with us today and having us as being with us as our special guest. And thank you for all the viewers that are watching us live, and for everybody that is watching the recording later. Thank you for being here as well. It's been my sincere pleasure to be your host today. Thank you for watching. Have a great week, and most important, have happy holidays and happy new year.